Good morning, this is Micaiah Hart from the class CSC 174, presenting my Project 3 modification of Project 2. So, the differences compared to the Project 2 was the added function of a while loop. So, with the while loop function, it allows the user to be forced to input a valid input for the program to function properly. So the program would not stop asking for an input until the user correctly inputs a valid input. So that gets rid of the flags that makes the program output a 0 whenever the user inputs a input that is not valid in the first place. So the flag one right here initializes the flag for the program to execute in the first increment. So when the flag one is true, it will be then passed in this while loop where this while loop will only run when the flag one is equivalent to true. So for the first prompt, it asks for the customer's code. So the while loop under the input means that the code that the user inputs must be a R, a capital R, a C, a capital C, a capital I, and a capital I for the program to continue on to the next input. So when the customer or the user does not input the valid inputs such as from these 3 or 6, it would keep asking the user to prompt a user customer code and a prompt with the invalid customer code, please try again. So it's the same concept from the initial meter reading and the ending meter reading, where while the user's input is not in the parameters of the minimum place value, which is 0, it has to be greater than or equal to that value, while being less than the maximum place values, which is around 9 place values. So it has to be in that parameter for which is considered valid in order for the program to continue on to the next input, which is the same as the ending meter reading, where the user must input a valid input. Since there was no differences from the calculations, I would not really touch into this part, since the only difference that I've made from the previous program was the magic numbers. So any future changes would be easier by just changing the magic number. And while the program repetition the program repetition request will only start to prompt after the program has outputted the calculations. And the prompt would ask the user if they want to do another calculation, and they would either input a Y for yes and a N for no, which can be translated to the capital equivalency of the input. However, the program would not continue to do the flag one calculations until the user inputs a valid input, which is a lowercase y, a capital Y, a lowercase n, or a capital N. And depending on the user's input, if they inputted yes or y, the flag one will be placed to true, and it would begin again in the while loop, where the program would ask the inputs all over again. And if the user inputs a lowercase n or a capital N, the program would print out goodbye with a happy face at the end. And the flag one will be false, which will be the sentinel value to not execute the while loop for the program to do the calculations all over again. Okay, now I will do the error checks to determine if the while loops work correctly. So we'll first do the customer code error checks. So any value or any input that is not I, R, or C would not work. So 1, Q, W, and any special character should not work. However, if it's a Y, it should continue on to the initial meter reading prompt. So as we can see, it followed up with the beginner meter reading prompt. So for the valid inputs for the beginning meter reading, it has to be in the parameters of the minimum place values, which is 0, and the maximum place values, which is 9 place values. So a -1 would not work because it's not in the parameters, and any arbitrary number that has more than 9 place values should not work. So as you can see, it cannot work. So let's try inputting a valid input, say 100, and it's the same for the ending meter reading since it has the same parameters. It would not work for any number that is not in the parameters that we want. Say 200 for the valid input. As we can see, the program works correctly because the program would only work until the user inputs a valid input. So now there's another error check for the calculations to request a rerun of the program. So as the same from before, the valid inputs for this is Y, capital Y, N, and capital N. So an integer would not work, a special character would not work, and any letter that's not Y or N should not work. So let's say, yes, we want to do another calculation. Okay. So to determine if the magic numbers were placed correctly, I will do the test cases again, just in case. So we're gonna do the test case 1 in the bottom. So that's a customer code of R 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the initial meter reading, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 3, 5 for the ending meter reading should give us a 13.2, and amount billed is $5.71. So let's do another one. Let's do the 9. Let's do 9 of them. So let's say yes, works correctly. Say T. Well, since it's not a valid input, it's not gonna work. So let's try. Let's do test case 3, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, and a value of 5 or a value of 8. Let me do that again. C 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, and a value of 5 or a value of it is 5. Okay, that is 0.8 and $1,000. So yes, we do want to do another calculation. C 1 to the 5, 44,000. Is that 4,000? That's 4,000. 4,000, 1250 should give us a value of gallons of water use. and the amount bill is 1,000. Say yes, we want to do another calculation. So this time is industrial. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, and a value of 5.8 for the gallons of water used and $1,000. Say yes. Industrial 125, 40,000, 123, 125. Gallons of water used. Is that values? Same exact same thing. Say yes. Industrial 125 for 4,000, 1250. And it gives us the gallons of water uses. That value in our program, and amount bill is $2,000, $2,000. And the last one we're gonna do is test case 9, industrial 125. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Give us, input that correctly, 125. Oh, it said 125, not 1250. 125, let's see, 125. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. How many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 zeros and 125. Okay. I'm just gonna copy and paste this so that'll be easier. Okay, that's weird. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's a customer code. That's why. There you go. Okay, industrial 35 and this value. So my program is keeping me in check while I'm not doing what is right. So that also proves that my program works in the first place. So the gallons of water used is that value, and the amount bill is 4,500. So since we're done with the test cases, we're now gonna do another calculations, and we're gonna say no. And for that, it outputs a goodbye, since we're not gonna use the code anymore. Thank you for listening to the narration of my project, and have a good day.